I'm now speaking with Rodney Clark. Mr. Clark here has a daughter who's a student at the Urban League after-school program here, and he also has an interesting story on his own because he's written some books and he's kind of motivational too. And Mr. Clark, as I talk with you here, a couple things I want to talk about, and I want to start with your daughter here first. Here at the Urban League, we're trying a different type of a concept where we're talking with younger people and having them put into focus their career objectives, what they want to be in life and things like that. And a lot of people had said earlier that these kids are too early. What do you think about that? Why do you feel, if you do, that's important that kids, the age of your daughter, start zeroing in on the kind of things that they want to do in life?
I believe that's important because, first off, they're only molded to understand the things that that are put in their head early. By the time they get old enough to make their own choices and things like that, then they kind of branch off towards the things that their friends want to do or the things that the world wants them to do. But if they start early, you kind of pump different things in their mind to allow it to mature better, and I believe that's important because it's kind of the same situation with me. I started a business class when I was in the 5th grade, and all I've ever done since I've been an adult was business type of things. I've started my own business as far as books, music. Also, I wholesale different products. I've done real estate, a lot of different business ventures that I never would have done if I didn't start out young in the 5th grade at 11 years old, 10 years old, things like that.
Well, let me ask you, okay, now that's interesting because, all right, with you starting out that young, was it your mom or dad, or what motivated you to even think about something like that? I'll hold it.
I never thought about it as a child. It was the teachers at the school that I was going to. They felt like I was advanced enough in my mind to take these classes, and I mean the classes were straight business. The homework was on contracts. You get play money, and you open your own business in the back of the classroom. It was just a complete business class, and there was no motivation on my end. It was just simply adults that felt the need for me to be challenged a little more, and so
that's pretty much the same concept that we're trying to get across to the younger people here. Even we had a mock election here where they voted for the mayor of the Urban League to try to instill within them the importance of voting. Do you think that otherwise, how can we go about getting adults to vote more, because people in this area just didn't vote this year?
I think just spreading the importance of it and getting people to understand the politics and how important they are, and the fact that a lot of the changes that are made, most adults won't recognize it until it's too late, because they never took that chance to vote and to allow their voices to be heard. So they pretty much just take whatever happens to them.
I mean, from your research, it seems like in the 60s, people were more conscious about voting and participating in the process. And after the 60s, that motivation kind of died down to where it's almost at a halt right now. What do you attribute that decline to?
I think people just got comfortable. You got a newer generation that never felt civil rights movements, and they never felt the things that our ancestors had to go through. They're more comfortable with what we have now, all the technology. It's a lot of things that are blinding, that are allowing the new generations to be blinded by what's going on around them. And so I think that's why people don't take a part in it so much no more.
And something else I've noticed here is, as people were migrating from the south to the north, a lot of them who had those real hard stories of where they faced racism, they want to forget that stuff because they just want to get it out of their minds and don't expose their kids to it. But by them not exposing their kids to it, they did their kids a disservice because their kids are facing the very exact same thing today and don't realize it.
Right, and I agree with that totally, and I feel like I don't know. I just feel like people are just way too comfortable with the freedom, pretty much what they feel like is freedom, and is really not a freedom that they really believe. It's just a way to mask it, to mask what's going on around us now, you know.
So, in the books that you've written so far, okay, what have you written, and what has been the theme behind what you've written?
My first book I wrote is called Young and Having Faith in the Hood, and the theme around this book is it's to empower youth to change their way of thinking. And so what I did was I took roughly 90 different topics dealing with drugs, alcohol, incarceration, politics, gangs, just everything you can think of that comes with that hood mentality. And I kind of gave you a general idea of a better way of thinking when it comes to dealing with these certain subjects. And they're all straight to the point. You know, there's no rambling or anything like that. It's just straight to the point on each subject. And it is more like a self-help, self-empowerment, and it just gives the youth a better way of thinking, pretty much.
But, you know, and years later, you know, as you're talking about the drug problem and people getting hooked on crack and different things, then it comes out to show that these things were brought in here by the police and federal people, you know, and we don't know that. I mean, it seems like, from what I understand about what you've done, there's a thinking thing that you try to get across to people about how to separate the fact from the fiction.
Exactly, and a lot of times it's a bandwagon, and that's something I always talked about in my books, about not following the bandwagon. Not you don't have to do everything that other people do, not even family. You know, you don't have to follow in all their footsteps. You create your own lane, you use your own mind, and we all know right from wrong, and it's just we can. It's hard to separate right from wrong when you see everyone doing wrong, and it makes it look right, and it makes it feel right at times. And so that's pretty much the concept of this book, is to allow people to understand that the situations aren't as good as we think they are, you know, and the way that we're destroying ourselves in the process, we won't recognize it for the next 20, 30 years. And we can always look at our older generation, our uncles, our grandparents, and we can see how their destructions are showing now, you know. And so to kind of prevent it from happening, I decided to write this book to reach out to the youth and young adults. It's not just for youth, it's for young adults as well, to understand that we have to make some better choices and make some changes in order to become better people.
So what do we do about getting the people to read more? Because you can write all day. There's many books out here to be read, but people aren't reading, and anymore with the texting and what have you, their vocabularies they're self-destroying their vocabularies, and but then, you know, are we doomed, or how have you maintained a positive outlook to where you see that we can come out of this thing?
Well, I know my main thing was I wanted to be the author that looked just like the person that I'm writing to. The person that I'm my target audience, I want to look just like them. I want them to understand that I come from that same background, and I wanted them to understand that I've made changes and I've made different choices that allow me to even be able to speak on this situation. And one thing I've always thought about was when I was a child and I had speakers come to the school. You know, they could talk about drugs and alcohol but be wearing a suit and a tie and never look like they did a drug or tried alcohol in their life. And so once they leave and once I go home, I forgot about that speaker. They didn't appeal to me because they didn't look like what I'm used to. And so I always felt like it should come from people who had that similar understanding, that similar background, and I think that would allow the change to occur a little better.
Now, you're speaking with your daughter one on one. She has your same fire and enthusiasm. Did you deliberately instill that in her, or does that just come from a kid watching the parent and they just absorb it?
I mean, my daughter was born in '07, and I was about 23 years old, so I was already trying different business ventures, and I think it just kind of naturally grew into her. And I mean, I see that she has the same, type of background, like far as
Aura.
educational. Yeah, exactly. She's pretty well rounded, like far as in school and everything, and I never remember anybody instilling that in me. It just kind of just happened that way. So I never expected anything different out of her.
What did your parents do?
Well, my mother was always she was a cook, and then when we moved to Fort Wayne, she started working at Fort Wayne Community Schools. My dad has always been a cook as well.
So usually with the desire to start different ventures, there's an entrepreneurial person back there someplace, because otherwise you'd be going out looking for a job at Harvester or GE or someplace and not wanting to have your own, but yet all of your ventures and the things that you want to do are more along the lines of entrepreneurship. And again, that I mean, usually that seed the seed can fall on you, but usually it's somebody around you that influences that direction, and once you get hooked, you don't want to go back.
I believe it was like I said, it was that class, and this 5th and 6th grade class that I was in, it was called Depth, and I'm from South Bend, Indiana, so this was a different type of class. I didn't want to be in this class. I seen the kids in this class before I even got old enough to go to this class, and they just looked nerdy to me, and none of them were African American. I was the only African American in that class, so I was handpicked to be in this class. But that's what developed that entrepreneurial spirit. I dealt with this class for 2 years, and when I got older, I looked on Facebook and I found all of those students that were in there, and they're doing great things. They're all over the country. Those same kids that I thought were nerds and too smart for me to be around them and things like that. We all kind of do the same things, and I do work a regular job, but I also have my side things that I'm very proud of.
So how do we go about killing the slave mentality? Because one thing I've noticed is ever how much ambition you have in the black community, if you try to meet the needs of the black community, that Willie Lynch mindset sets in a whole lot, and for some reason you can't galvanize the blacks. I mean, that whole Willie Lynch thing kicks in. How do we change that? How do we get the point across to the people that's a programmed mentality that makes them behave that way?
I guess we definitely have to pump our history into, and it's more than our youth dealing with or learning about slavery, and it's deeper than that. We have to understand the mindset that African Americans have, the support. In the 60s and the 50s, when during civil rights movements and things like that, there was a lot of support amongst black people. They all supported each other, and it's to the point where we have to get that back. We have to get that willingness to support one another and everything, and that way a lot of things would change.
So, okay, as you wind down here, all right, we're in early January, headed towards February, and a lot of us feel that Black History Month needs to be reformed a little bit. I mean, like you said, it's good to know the Harriet Tubmans, all those stories there, but it seems like we stop and don't keep it current and show the connection between what they did back then and what we're going through today and how it's all connected. If you had a chance to have the ideal Black History Month program that would show some type of unification, I mean, what would you do to reform the Black History Month mindset to make it more pertinent for right now?
I would say, and this is something that I talked about in my book, Young and Having Faith in the Hood. I would say that there had to been a time where we started going downhill. Although we came uphill and we hit a peak, we came downhill. And like I say, we hit our peak because we got our rights. We were able to vote and things like that. Our women were able to work and things like that. But I would talk about the fact that, well, I did talk about it in my book, the fact that we had these different government programs that came along. And what they did was, they eliminated black fathers from the family, from the families, when you got a mother, a black father, a black mother, and black children. Now, at that time, you had a black man go to work, take care of his family, without any rights, really. It wasn't very many rights for black women and things like that. They couldn't even work at a time. But it had got to a point where the government made these programs like the SNAP program. You had to be so far under the poverty level in order to get this to qualify for this program and welfare. You had to be so far under, and there couldn't be a black father in the family. So all that did was allow women to understand that they have this certain independence now. They don't need the black man anymore in the family, in the household. And not only that, the black father, he realized he's not needed. He left his family. And now you got all these broken homes. You got all these situations where kids are unruly, disrespectful, things like that, because they don't have what they used to have back in the day, And I think that's where the reform would come for me. I would mostly worry about how we fell down and get people to understand that there's a serious issue, because now you got black women, black girls who just have babies expecting to be single mothers, expecting not to have a father. You got black men making babies expecting not to be in that family. That is destroying us completely.
And we fix that how?
Well, we fix it by helping people understand the mindset. That mindset is that's a serious thing that's going on. Like to think that it's okay to be a single mother, to think that it's okay to not have the father in the house, to think that it's okay to not be in your child's life as a father. There has to be some leaders to step up and help everyone understand that that's not the right way of thinking. Not tell them don't do it. Not tell them just be in your child's life, or try to get married before you have a kid. That's nobody's gonna listen to that. You help them understand that life is gonna be difficult for you and your children without that unification.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do, not only here with our program here, but in our discussion here. So again, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.